Thank you, Alistair, for this interview. Can you tell us a little bit about the beginning with music?
Yeah, well, it's been quite a few years now. Yeah, I started off when I was really young, so 12 or 13 years old. I was in some bands.
What year?
This is going sort of like the middle of the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was in some bands, and then those kind of finished, and I started getting more into like electronic music and DJing and things like that. Firstly, with kind of like rave and hardcore, the sort of more commercial.
When you say hardcore, you mean the UK version
UK,
of the
like
hardcore?
at that time, because I lived in a small village, a long distance from any city. So it was like the sort of more commercial, like Prodigy and Alternate and XL recordings and this kind of stuff.
SL2.
Yeah. All these kind of acts, which are all still great, but there's a whole kind of underground beneath the stuff. And then when I went to university when I was 18, there I actually for the first time could actually go to clubs and see sort of techno DJs, people like Billy Nasty, Dave Clark. Josh Wink, Carl Cox. So yeah, and also in the city there's Newcastle, which was in the north of England. Mm-hmm. There were actually like record shops, selling vinyl and things. So yeah, you had access to a much wider selection of kind of specialist and underground music. So from there, I sort of got more into techno. Things like Carl Cox's first Fact mix compilation introduced me to a lot of names. People, sort of the early drum code stuff, the early Swedish stuff, Adam Beyer, Kari Leckerbusch, people like that.
Real techno.
Yeah,
techno.
Like proper techno, if you want to call it that. I could buy, the CD compilations of like Trezor, sort of early Plastic Man, things like this. Yeah, so then I realized there's like a whole different world of electronic music outside of the big
you get out a little bit of the UK to go into the more German, US techno.
Yeah, German, US, but even Dutch, like D-Jax labels like that.
It was my favorite record label. I collected all the Jacks of Beats.
And then so the Belgian stuff and the more kind of ravey Hoover, even like the Joey Beltram stuff, RNS, this kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how it went. And then when I was at university, I started making music with another guy because we had to have enough equipment to make sort of semi-okay music. We had to put all our equipment together. So we shared all the drum machines and synthesizers and stuff. So that was.
Do you remember the stuff you had, the gear, the first equipment you had at the time?
Yeah, I had like an old. My first sampler was an old Akai SO1, which was like the cheapest of all the Akai samplers. But still the kind of the cream rack mount. We had like some synths by Novation. We had a Novation drum station which could do the 808, 909
I
sounds.
Still have this one.
Yeah,
with the sync for TB303.
Yeah, the connections at the back. Yeah,
bass station maybe also.
Yeah, we had a bass station, the keyboard, and also the rack. So we had lots of this stuff. A lot of like cheaper things like guitar pedals. Yeah, like old effects like Alesis, like the Quadriverb, these kind of rack mount effects. Because this was
DP4 maybe.
No,
it was too
expensive for me back then. I did that, and then when I left university, the guy I was making music with, he wanted to stay in the city, Newcastle. I wanted to move to London because there's more chance in London of getting a music industry job. So we split up, and then I started making music on my own and building up things. And for a few years I was making techno, but also drum and bass, like two separate projects. And no one really ever liked my drum and bass, so that didn't move forward. But my techno started to get signed and picked up, and it kind of grew. And my first release, I think, was a remix in the year 2000.
Yes, early 2000.
2001.
Yes.
And after that, things grew from there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 2002, if I remember well. Everything started to get serious.
Yeah, it got serious, and I was recording for about 5 years. I was recording for just UK labels, mainly London labels, run by friends of mine, people I was going to parties with. And then I realised to get more like DJ bookings and to get more, just to reach more people, I had to be on the bigger labels, some of the European labels. So in 2007, I started sending demos to labels like Drum Code, Josh Wink's Ovum, compact, CLR, and yeah, after then after one set of demos was ignored and nobody wrote to me, and then the second set of demos they wanted to sign the tracks, and everything started to move from the summer of 2007. Everything got more serious, more gigs. I finished my office job and went to be like full-time musician, DJ, whatever.
Yeah, techno. Okay. I have a question. The question, we call it Back to the Future.
Okay.
If you can go back to a certain place at a certain time,
where
would it be and when would it be?
I think, either probably two answers. Either the kind of you had the acid house explosion in say 1987, 1988, and a few years later you had these kind of like raves and 1989, 1990.
Summer of Love.
Yeah, like in the UK, and there was a mixture of the first wave was just acid house. The second wave was like acid house plus the UK kind of breakbeat hardcore. I think that's a really interesting time. And then probably just back to the kind of the mid to late 90s. I think there was a lot more openness about genres. You could go to you could hear a DJ, someone like Carl Cox, with what now we'd call it like in one set he'd play house, techno, trance, like melodic trance, hardcore, and everyone just accepted the whole thing. When now, especially with like social media and Instagram, everyone is like put into these little boxes of genre. When I think back then, the DJs and also the people going to the parties were more sort of open-minded about playing whatever music they wanted to.
If you can do something differently in your past, musically, how would you change?
It's hard to say because everything you do in the past, even if you look back at it and think of it as a mistake, it's still a step on a sort of journey and a learning process. At the start of my Perc Tracks label, I had this idea of just signing, a bit like what I said in the last question, of signing whatever I wanted. So one release would sound like this, and because maybe sort of deep and more experimental, and the next one would be very fast and banging. And whilst I really liked this, I think it confused people that were just discovering the label for the first 4 or 5 releases. I think it kind of confused people about what the label was trying to represent.
But as you said, you have to start and to do mistakes. So to build the future, you have to...
like Perc Tracks is now on, say, it's like about 95 releases. And I think the label, for me, the label only really found its kind of sound and its kind of place in the whole techno scene. I don't know, maybe like on 30, 40 releases. So it took a long while for me to actually work out what I wanted it to be.
Do you remember the best gig you have ever played and the best gig you have ever witnessed as just a...
Okay, well...
something really special.
I'm trying to think, well, the gigs that I played, there's been a lot, but I'm trying to think the really special ones I remember. Some of the Reactor events, like Unpolished, I think these are very special events, and I always seem to... some of them I did like a lot of preparation for. Some of them I seemed to like go in and be a bit nervous and not sure what I was going to do. But they always, I don't know if it was the sound system or the crowd at Warehouse Elementstraat in Amsterdam, but it just always everything always came together, and they were some of my best sets, and I'm really happy that I have them recorded. As for gigs that I saw, I don't know, I saw like Richie Horden a few times in London. At different points in his career.
Where?
Like a place like the...
Did you see him during the 90s?
Yeah.
Plastic Man era?
Yeah, and the sort of the Dex Effects of 909 and these kind of things. And I think they were kind of special times, and that was where he was pushing technology forward in terms of DJing, but there seemed to be a reason to do it. Instead of just trying something new just for the sake of it, there was a kind of reason for doing it. Otherwise, I guess, like in the UK, we had these festivals... in sort of 90s, late 90s, called Tribal Gathering, which were just like, in one tent you'd have Underground Resistance, another tent you'd have like Daft Punk, you'd have like Carl Cox, you'd have IQ, so Sven Vath,
only heavyweights,
Hard Floor, all the German guys. So it was just, if you look at the flyers now, it's unbelievable.
No, you cannot do that again. Yeah. The worst stuff, the worst gig you have ever witnessed, something really awkward. For
me, well, sometimes there's just, I know it does happen sometimes where you just get to a gig and it's sometimes a promoter that has travelled to, say, Berlin or Amsterdam and sort of fallen in love with techno, and then they try and they're really inspired and they're really positive about it, and then they go back to their city, like it's a smaller town or city in, I don't know, France or Germany or UK, and they put on like a techno night, and then their own local area or their town is not ready for it. So you have like a good lineup, the promoters and all their friends are really excited about it, but then there's like not people there, or there's people there, but the music doesn't really, they don't really understand it. That can be quite frustrating. Otherwise, like I've had a few experiences where I've like, you know, flown to a gig in another country, and then as I get off the plane, it's cancelled or something like this, you know. These days, like promoters are really cool, and I have an agent that looks after me really well. But when I started off, I was doing my own bookings. I was like my own agent. Oh. So sometimes you'd get times where like you'd be playing the closing set, the last set of the night, and while you were playing, the promoter would like leave the venue and you wouldn't get paid, and yeah. These kind of things, it was a bit more kind of like gangster.
Yeah,
back then, things are a bit better now.
Yeah, it's a waste of energy, waste of time.
Yeah.
Okay, question coming out. What in the electronic scene you really dislike, but you do not really talk about it, but something bother you?
Well, yeah, I don't like to be like too negative on social media.
It's just, you know, we can talk about it.
I can say it now, but yeah, I don't want to be someone that just complains. Also, I think if you complain on social media but you don't offer any alternative or any answer, then it's kind of pointless as well.
It's not, you know, it's just to talk and discuss about something that changes in the bad way and something really...
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, in the last few years, like I understand how social media and Instagram are a great tool for reaching fans or people that might want to listen to your music, but especially Instagram, it's a very visual-based social media platform, and I think that if image is more important than music, then I think there's something kind of wrong. Mm-hmm. Also Instagram, like trends, people copy out what people are doing very quickly, and they change. There's some DJs that seem to change their kind of musical style every few months. They see what's popular, and I wish people would just step away from social media, spend less time on photo shoots and looking at what other people are playing, and more time on developing their own individual sort of sound and their own voice. Yeah.
Okay. Guilty pleasure. What is your guilty pleasure?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't have much guilty pleasures because, like, whatever I listen to, I'm kind of proud of. I still listen to like a bit of pop music, a bit of sort of 80s pop, 90s pop. Just stuff that's much more sort of melodic and song based. You know, it's not a guilty pleasure, but I listen to a lot of jazz. So with jazz, I probably just listen to almost like the greatest hits of jazz. It's quite sort of basic, but I find it very relaxing before a gig or just after a gig to listen to this. It's just it's something different. I do listen to a lot of techno. I know there's some techno DJs that never listen to techno unless they're choosing tracks for their DJ sets. But I listen to techno all the time. But sometimes I just need a little break.
Yes, I do the same with soul music. Also,
people are like that. Like a lot of people listen to like soul, R&B, or hip hop, which I don't listen to a lot of that stuff myself. But it provides an alternative to techno all the time. Yeah.
Okay, Alistair, thank you very much for your time and for this interview.
Thank you. Hi, this is Perc, and you're listening to Radio Punch.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.